everyone. This is Father Son Galaxy. I am Kerwin, and this is Keith. And we are here to talk about Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, Episode 5, called The Grand Design. Yeah, okay. So where we left off, we didn't know the fate of Vanessa, but, this turned out for me to be a very emotional episode.
I
So,
think it felt just like the original show, which helps because it did do the original show again, but it did a great job with the writing, the characters, the storytelling. It's doing a lot to increase my ranking of Born Again.
yeah, so this was a good episode to you, right?
Hmm.
This was a great episode. Okay. So it starts off with Vanessa in critical condition. The surgeon comes in and, tells Fisk that the surgery went well and the doctor hopes for the best. This doctor is actually he's not making any promises. He's not trying to, be too optimistic about her condition. But he just says, she made it out of surgery and she hopes for the best. All right. Um, while Vanessa is in a not a comatose state, but she's unconscious. She's dreaming. All right, she has flashbacks, and one of them is we'll talk about the aspect ratio in the flashback because that's something that you catch before I do. But tell me about the aspect ratio and how it ties into Netflix Daredevil.
So as Vanessa's having flashbacks, the aspect ratio widens, and it goes from like the TV, a Disney Plus aspect ratio to full screen, which is way better, honestly. I kind of miss how much of like the screen that you're kind of missing when they put it in full screen as compared to just actually filling the screen with content. Because the only way you're watching this is on Disney Plus on a TV. It's not a movie. There's no need to have it in such a weird aspect ratio. But it's whatever. They kind of went back to the original style here, and not just in the aspect ratio, but like the lighting,
Yeah.
the camera angles, the dialogue, the music, like everything felt like the original.
Yeah, it seems like the flashbacks to me is lighter than what's going on in real time. But I feel like, whenever they do a flashback, there's more light, like maybe natural light coming through, or it could be the lights from the studio lights. It just seems like it's bright.
Well,
It
Vanessa's
seems
flashback,
bright.
this flashbacks are a lot darker because they're at night, and yeah, I agree.
So there was one flashback with Fisk and Vanessa on the beach. They're wearing white. That's their favorite color. There's also one where Vanessa is, I guess she's interviewing for a position at an art gallery, and she sees this painting of
Nothing.
nothing. It's just all, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just white. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yes. All right. And what that is, it's white. You can't see anything. And something about this painting has drawn her attention. She thinks it's going to be a big sell. We should put this out there in the gallery. And the person that she's working for says, "No, I think you're off on this." But
Mm-hmm.
it turns out that right, this is the painting that actually attracted Fisk to the painting. And to go back to Fisk's backstory, we know why, because during his childhood, when he was put in time out or whatever you want to call it at the time, he had to go sit in the corner and stare at a blank wall, a white wall, for who knows how long. So I whenever he's looking at that wall, I guess it's like mesmerizing that maybe it takes him back to that time in his young past, or it's just something to do to make the time go away. But he really was hooked on to this painting, and that was the painting that brought the two of them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And it's so interesting
Yeah.
that it's like literally nothing, and yet it does so much to like tie these two characters together in terms of art.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder, white, like I said, white is their favorite color. When, well, Kingpin is always worn white. Vanessa, I'm not sure. I think maybe she started wearing white
Yeah.
when she met Wilson
I
Fisk.
mean, Kingpin wore a lot more black in the original show.
Okay.
I think like season 3 is when he started wearing more white.
Yeah.
Because when when Matt Murdock gave him a good old beating, he was wearing white then.
Okay,
And then
after,
he kind of cleaned up his aesthetic. He
yeah,
got him a lot more lighter and friendlier when he ran for mayor, and now he's kind of getting back into that darker side. So I hope his wardrobe change will reflect that, and we start seeing him wear more black in the next 3 episodes.
interesting.
That would be a pretty cool pivot.
Okay, that would be pretty cool. Okay. Now, not only are we getting flashbacks from Vanessa's point of view, we're also getting, this is from Matt's point of view. It's not a flashback, but it's just him reminiscing about his pal. So let's talk about the flashback.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
let's get to Matt Murdock
right.
because that's the fun part. So he and Foggy are taking on a new client, and they're not independent. They're not Nelson and Murdoch yet. They're working for Lamb and Zach.
Yeah. They're public defenders.
Yep, and they're not treated well or paid well. So their new client, Lionel McCoy, is a drug dealer. He's got multiple charges. He's got a laundry list worth of illegal things, and he's facing 10 to 12. So Foggy actually knows this guy. Knew him as Ray. They were neighbors. Foggy was best friends with his brother, and McCoy, his employer wants him to die in jail because if he gets in there, he is toast no matter what. So Foggy wants to give him a second chance, and Matt is like, "We could just let him go to prison. He did the crime. He should take the punishment."
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't want to make sure I didn't cut you off. So this McCoy, Lionel McCoy, is actually working for Kingpin. Okay. And of course, Kingpin, as anybody who works for him, he has to make sure that, when people get arrested, they're put in a position where they're pressured to tell the truth or to give up names. And
He can't have that.
right, and Kingpin can't have that, right? So this guy's a liability, right? And there is a scene where we see Kingpin with his previous right hand man, Wesley, right? Wesley.
It's so odd to me because everybody seems to love Wesley so much. I actually prefer Buck now because Wesley, like he was cool, but he's not doing it like Buck is. Like when he was gunning down those two dudes and he walked out the door and he like winked at Michael Afton. I thought that was the funniest thing ever, man. I need to see more of that out of Buck.
Yeah.
He's
Well, we're gonna talk about Buck. All right, we'll get there.
because he's a character in the comics. He's called Bullet, I believe, and apparently that's all he does. I haven't read any comics with him in it.
Wait a minute. So Buck Cashman is a comic book character,
Mm-hmm.
and does he work for Kingpin? What do you
His
mean?
name's Bullet, so
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know this part.
he's like the bullseye.
So he is not Bullseye. Bullseye. He's another Bullseye.
He's just got good aim.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, right. Okay, I got you. All right. I didn't know that he was also a character in the comic books. Well, thank you for telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So this guy is, he's in danger. Um, and Foggy Nelson. We miss Foggy.
Good old Frank.
Yeah.
Like this flashbacks really just made me realize how empty the show has been since Foggy died.
Yeah.
I think they kind of needed him. If they hadn't been Born Again season 1, it would have easily bumped it up from like a 6 to an 8.
Yeah.
But here he's good, which is, you know, the least I can say, honestly.
Right. 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 Um, so Foggy is kind of like Murdoch's moral compass, right? So Foggy is usually the one who's going to feel soft-hearted for people. He's very caring of people, and he wants to help people as much as he can. So without saying too much, Lionel McCoy never said who he worked for, but because Foggy was friends with his brother, and this guy is not really very nice to Foggy, Lionel McCoy. He's not very nice to Foggy, but Foggy wants to help him anyway because, okay, this is one of the kids who grew up in my neighborhood. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but as it turns out, the warrant that was presented to him is invalid. It was faulty. It had false information. So there was that loophole. Like, okay, well, if this warrant is invalid, then that means we got to drop the charges. Um, but did this mean that this guy did commit some crimes? Yes, right. And what Matt is saying, okay, well, this guy's going to have to do some kind of time. All right. But Like you said, Foggy had other ideas.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
So they do get him off on the charges, thankfully, and Foggy pays him a nice little visit. In his pocket are the savings that he and Matt had for their law firm, Murdoch and Nelson. And Foggy gives it to McCoy, and he's like, just take a second chance, go start your life again, stop selling illegal goods, and just, start over.
right.
And he does. He takes the money, he runs. Now, we got to get to Buck.
Let's talk about Buck. Buck also has a backstory.
Fisk and Wesley are chilling in their vehicle, and Wesley brought up Bitcoin, and he said, "Yeah, that's probably not a good idea to invest in." And how Bitcoin blew up in like 2020?
Yes.
I can only imagine that didn't happen in the MCU because 2019 was when the snap happened.
Hmm.
So Bitcoin probably didn't blow up considering that there were bigger problems and like half of Earth was gone.
Right.
So I think that might have been a good investment for Fisk to not put his funds into. But Wesley notes that McCoy is a liability, but he knows somebody who can help them out, and he hires Buck. And it's like a mirror, right? Because there's this one shot where it's Buck on one side, Wesley on the other, and they're like looking at each other. And it's like such a cool shot because it's so weird to see a born again character in the original show style, but also because it's old Wesley meeting British Wesley,
Right. Yes. Right. One character replacing the other. Yeah. Which we see how that happens.
passing the torch.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So Buck with the Bucky haircut, they gave him the same wig that he had
Did,
in Civil War.
yeah. He did look like Bucky with the baseball cap on and he had
The
the shag in the
shaggy.
back. Yeah. Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know why they didn't just give him his present day
Yeah.
cut for distinction
Yeah.
purposes,
Yeah.
especially because his name is Buck,
Hmm.
which is one letter off. But Buck is sent after McCoy, and McCoy, when Buck pulls up to the house, he's already gone. He's ran down the street. I don't think we see him again after that.
Yeah. Well, we get the impression that this is Buck now. Buck doesn't miss, like you said. He's he's like a bullseye. He doesn't miss. So maybe he was not in the apartment, but eventually, I'm sure Buck caught up with Lionel, and
Hmm.
he's not going.
I think we disagree on that because the way
Oh,
it's
you.
shot and framed,
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like he got away. But
Hmm.
it would be kind of odd for Buck to fail his first job for Fisk and then become like his top employee.
Right. Right.
But
So I
that
mean,
would explain why he doesn't show up in seasons 2 and 3.
right. It's implied to me that okay, well, you know, Buck, he's as we, been finding out this last couple of episodes, he's a military man, right? He's
Mhm.
been in the military, so he knows how to get around with, you know, finding the target and taking the target out.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Poor Daniel. He is like, I don't even know how to describe this. It's like he keeps falling for the same trap. Because BB shows up and she's like, "Oh, Daniel, I'm so sorry. How's Vanessa?" And Daniel says, "I obviously can't tell you that for, legal reasons." And BB's like, "Oh, please." And then they have a hug. And immediately after, he spills the beans. And then we look at the TV. The reporters are outside. Not only did she leak the location of Vanessa, she also leaked that she was in critical condition.
Yeah.
So Daniel's about to die.
Yeah, he's not making smart moves. So, first of all, now this is the first lady of New York City, right? So usually if, she is in, serious condition, they're going to take her to a secret location,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Even if it is a hospital, they're not going to tell you which hospital she's in.
And they'll probably seal off the wing that she's in for security.
Absolutely right, absolutely. But BB somehow finds out, which doesn't. They never explain how BB found out
See,
where Vanessa
I
was
feel like BB has a
checked
tracker on
in.
Daniel.
You think so?
Like,
An actual tracker?
you know how on iPhones there's like a Find My iPhone thing, and you could like get people's location off of that. She probably just did that. That
Oh
seems like
wow,
in character for her to do.
that would be. That's very sneaky.
Yeah, but
That's wow. Okay. Well, all right. So she shows up at the hospital, like you said, and you know, you could tell blatantly she's using this man.
yeah, it's like I don't understand how Daniel can't see
Yeah.
that maybe they are friends, but at the same time, BB is willing to throw him under the bus for the story, for the scoop. So he should honestly just stop associating himself with her because she's only gotten him in more trouble. Season one, in like the first half, she leaks the union busting thing, and Fisk chews out the entire staff. Daniel was like, his life was in danger because Fisk could have killed him in that moment. Thankfully, he didn't, but he did tell him not to mess up like that again, and he has twice. Because not only did BB go out and make the Fisk impersonation videos, but now she's leaked the location of Vanessa.
Yeah.
And then immediately after this, something wild happens. We'll get to that, but I don't have a strong feeling that BB's gonna make it out of this season.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm thinking the opposite. Here's what I think is going to happen. Well, I don't want to get there yet, but
Like
let me
I think
just.
BB should live, but like reasonably, she should die. Like it'd be better for the story if she survived, but at the same time, she's put Daniel under the bus too many times for Fisk to let that slide.
Yeah, I have an idea where what could happen. So yeah, yeah. So like you said, BB, gets this information from Daniel, and Daniel gives up the information quickly. And the reason for that
Holds
is
it under no pressure.
yes, and the reason he did is because he cares for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really likes BB. But BB doesn't like him the same way. She's just
BB
using
just wants information out of him.
exactly. She's just using him for information,
And
you
she's
know?
not particularly good at lying to him.
Yeah.
Because like the audience, all of us know that BB would throw Daniel to the wolves if it meant that she could get a good story out of him, especially when it comes to Fisk. So I think that's something that we could explore in her character arc, that she's willing to do anything to put Fisk behind bars again as justice for her uncle.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And then of course when she leaks out where the first lady is located, the reporters show up immediately in the same wing, like you said, there's nothing is blocked off.
Yeah, they had the uh, AVTF posted up outside.
Absolutely. And this reporter comes right up to Daniel and says, "Okay, well, what's going on with the mayor's wife? Is Miss Fisk, is she okay?" And then
And Buck reports in, and he's like,
Buck just shows out of
and he actually scares the reporter away. But I don't know how Buck got there. He just kind of shows up,
yeah,
which I thought was really funny.
yeah, yeah,
And then he grabs Daniel. He's like, "Come on, buddy, let's take a little drive."
yeah. I can go for a hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that he, it, the funny part is Daniel's driving. So Buck gets to the passenger seat and he's like, "The mayor knows we're going to Albany, by the way." And Daniel's like, "You didn't say anything about Albany." And then Buck says, "Don't worry about it. Now stop at this hardware store." And he walks into the hardware store, walks out with a saw and a shovel, and has Daniel open up the trunk. And while they're driving again, like there's this one part where Daniel is just sitting in the car and he turns on the engine. He's about to run, but it's like, it's whatever at this point. It will only make it worse if he ran. So he just waits for Buck to come back in with the tools of his destruction. And then they hop back in the vehicle. And as they're driving, they have a nice little chat about Buck's military time. He was in Afghanistan doing some night raids, and he had to do some pretty evil stuff. And he carried out his orders, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. This is my favorite moment of the episode. So, um, it reminds me of a couple of things. So there's this film called Training Day, right, with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke, came
Mm-hmm.
out in the early 2000s. I know you have not seen it, but
Right.
I highly recommend it. But it's this story about this veteran cop played by Denzel who is having this new police officer, brand new Ethan Hawke, drive him around to do different things.
Hmm.
And it turns out that the things that this cop is doing, Denzel, are illegal. So Ethan Hawke had no idea that he's sitting with a person who's this partner that he's, driving a car with is doing evil things and doing illegal things.
So,
Yeah, so I thought about that as Daniel being the person because he's the one behind the wheel, and he's being told, stop here, go here, do this, and then and you're right, and Buck gets out and he goes into the hardware store and buys a saw and a shovel.
it's like
I mean, it's a hardware store.
Well, yeah, but he's like,
Well, he could have been working on a fence, in his
Fogg is
backyard.
wearing a finely tailored suit and he's buying hard labor equipment.
Yeah, yeah,
Could you
that's
imagine John Wick walks into Home Depot and asks them for a power saw and a shovel? That's what basically happened.
yeah, it was interesting. But you had a good point, Keith. Um, I'm sorry, Daniel, um, was considering turning the engine on and getting out of there. But imagine if he did that and he ran off and he had that body in the trunk.
Oh, that would have been awful. Either way, he would have been cooked.
Yeah, and he have no explanation as to how it got there. But anyway, so he decided to stay, and you're right, and then they took off. Now, what's interesting is Daniel is played by Michael Gandolfini,
Hmm.
and we know that Michael Gandolfini is the son of the late great James Gandolfini, right, who played Tony Soprano. All right, a mob boss. So this also had the feel, not just Training Day, but had the feel of a Sopranos episode.
Sure it
Something,
did.
yeah, something similar happened,
Okay, don't
where,
spoil it.
yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, where a person was actually driven into the forest and never saw it, never seen again, never was seen again. So that's what I thought was going to happen
Hmm.
to Daniel at this point, but it turns out that when they get to the forest, right?
See, this show is genuinely good at fake out deaths.
Yeah,
Because it's like, with Vanessa, they had me for a second in episodes 4 and 5. I'm impressed that they managed to drag it out that long. And here with Daniel, I genuinely thought that was going to be wraps for him. They were going to, have him be one with the spice
yeah,
in episode 5.
yeah,
But I picked up on this. So in Matt's flashbacks, the parallels are Matt as Matt and Bullseye as Foggy because Bullseye killed Foggy,
yeah.
and the man who taught Matt mercy is killed by the man that Matt has to show mercy to.
Yes, very good, very good.
So in Fisk
Absolutely.
and Wesley scenes, since Buck is the obvious parallel to Wesley, I'm seeing Daniel as the parallel to Fisk
Hmm.
because Wesley is kind of like he was doing Buck's job as far as being Fisk's, right hand man.
Hmm.
But also the scenes are shot similarly because they're both in vehicles. They're sitting in the same position with Buck on the side and Daniel or Fisk at the driver's seat.
Okay, okay.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting visual trick that maybe Daniel is closer to Fisk than we think, and we'll see that in
Ooh,
season
so
two.
you're saying that you could see Daniel becoming a Fisk, like maybe being the head of a crime organization?
I could see him taking over a larger capacity as being mayor. He might even become the mayor.
Daniel?
I think so.
Wow.
This is a wild prediction. It's
Yeah,
worth a
yeah.
shot. But by season 1, he was already like deputy of communications or
Yeah, right. He was
or
quickly
commissioner.
promoted.
He
Yeah, yeah.
was really high up there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that if Fisk is going to go to jail, which I feel like he will,
Hmm.
because he's going to have to crash out now that Vanessa's dead, something wild is going to happen. BB's going to leak it within 10 seconds, and the public's probably going to turn against Fisk. So
Interesting.
I think that Daniel will fill his absence.
Now,
Or maybe
okay.
Sheila becomes mayor and then Daniel becomes deputy. Either way, he's got to get higher up there.
You know what? Okay, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Um, so your point is that Daniel is probably going to make it out of this season,
Hmm.
at least. Okay. I agree with you. I do believe that Daniel will be the one. Well, no. Here's my thoughts.
Tell me.
I I said I agree. I made a mistake. I meant to
You made
say.
a mistake.
Well, let me take that back. I meant to say I disagree that Daniel's going to make it out, and here's why. So let's finish up what happens. All right. So the Buck and Daniel pull over into the forest somewhere. Buck opens the trunk, and inside the trunk is the body of that first shipmate.
That's who that was?
Yes, the first shipmate. Do you remember in the scene, the episode
Episode
before?
4,
Yep,
he was like, "Hello, Mr. Saba." And
right,
then he put one in his head. So
exactly, right. And then when Daniel, and when Buck just showed up out of nowhere at the hospital, Daniel said, "Well, where were you last night?"
he
Right?
was like, "I had to run an errand."
Exactly. So that makes sense. That okay, well, after that errand, that he, put he didn't have time to get rid of the body, so he just
Did
threw the
get rid of the corpse.
Yeah, he just threw the body in the trunk of the car
He's like,
and
"Let's take my car,
let's
Daniel.
yeah,
Just don't look in the truck."
right. I got another errand to run. Just, come with me. And oh, by the way, I got to pick up a saw and a shovel. So when they open up the trunk and you see this person in the back seat, in the trunk, so so Buck says, do you want the saw or the shovel? So he is now testing
Daniel's
Daniel's
loyalty.
loyalty to
Mm,
Kingpin. Now, is Daniel going to go through with this
I
and
think so.
actually take one or the other? Absolutely. Yes. I
I
don't
think he's
know.
gonna take the shovel
You think he's going to take the shovel?
because I know Daniel's not really the type to get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
I think he's more of the type to dig other people's graves and have the bodies disposed of by somebody else.
Right. He would be the accomplice, but he wouldn't
Mhm.
be the one that's actually, you know, taking taking out the target.
But I think that metaphor might be applied in a wider context. It's like he'd be willing to order hit some people, but he's not going to go out there and do it himself.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I see that. I see that.
Because Kingpin, he's willing to do both. He's willing to take Buck's job and still be the the figurehead,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the man at the head of the table.
Yes.
He's willing to do both. But I don't see Daniel being willing to take some of the more
Yeah, the dirty work.
nefarious.
Yeah, yeah, the dirty work. Um, so but here's what I think is gonna happen. So of course, like I said, this is a test for Daniel to see how far he will go. No, that BB is the one that's leaking this information.
Yeah, he has
He has to know, right? Buck is not stupid. So he's gonna put Daniel in position to take BB out, right?
in him.
Well, exactly right. And you know what's going to happen? He's not going to do it. And what's going to happen is if he doesn't do it, Buck is going to come after him and take Daniel out.
I think he'd just take both of them out in that case.
Well, maybe, but my point is, I don't think Daniel is going to go too far. I don't think he's going to make it. I think, yeah, he's going to be given the task to go and get BB and take her out. He can't do it because he cares too much for BB. And then Buck says, "All right, you know what? I'm taking you out. I'm taking her out." You know what I mean? Like I, so I don't think that Daniel will reach the position
Uh,
of deputy mayor because he's not going to make it.
well, I also don't see his character being wasted like that, like dying in season two.
Well,
I see a third season, potentially a fourth coming out of this,
yeah,
because I think 3 seasons would be a good place to
well,
end Born Again,
absolutely. I
like how
think,
the original show ended.
yeah, 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 right. And we know season three has already started filming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would like a season four, but that doesn't seem really sustainable
yeah.
unless they make Daredevil like the through line show, like the one thing that's always running every year,
Hmm.
which would be nice. I think Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio would be up to it. Only thing is, you can't keep using Kingpin because he's been the
Yes.
villain in 7 seasons worth of television at this
Agree.
point.
Agree.
I think
Yeah.
season two would be a nice place to end his 5 season arc in Daredevil,
Yeah.
and then the little side quest of Hawkeye and Echo.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. All right. Let's you touched
I
on
think
this.
Crisis
Let's
would be nice for him.
so let's go back and talk about Bullseye and Daredevil. So now remember at the end of the last episode, the two of them go sailing out through that window of the gym and they're both injured and they just run off and they're in hiding. All right. Bullseye is suffering from a gunshot wound.
He
He
is dying. He's going
yeah,
down.
he needs a doctor. So they find a safe haven inside the Catholic what?
So you remember when Matt's like, I know a nurse, I could take you to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was I was so excited.
You think we're gonna see Claire?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because she's like one of the only characters that hasn't shown up yet from the original show. Because Mahoney's in the trailers. Sister Maggie was mentioned. The only other ones we haven't seen are Foggy's family and his wife, um, Blake Tower, and Claire.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have to play a big role, obviously. She could just come in and
A little cameo.
somebody has to take care of Bullseye. He's somebody they can't take him to a hospital. So there's no other way. So I think, yeah, Rosario Dawson might show up and make a cameo appearance. That would be
That would be
awesome.
lovely,
Yeah,
especially because we haven't seen her in almost a decade. Because
yeah.
she just ran off
Has it
during
been that
Shade
long?
season 2.
Wow. It's been that you're right. It's been that long. And I know Rosario is busy doing other things, but I think she'll make the time, like
Yeah,
maybe
like a little
pay her for
little
one
cameo,
day's
yeah.
pay her for one day's work, Yeah.
I think that would be nice.
That'd be awesome.
That would bring a smile to my face.
Yeah, yeah, I would like that too. And yes, and going back, what you said was just perfect about the parallel between Bullseye and Foggy. So, and this is the reason why Matt is having is reminiscing and having these memories about Foggy because Bullseye keeps bringing up Foggy's name,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
it's like
and Matt's like, "Don't say his
it's a
name."
trigger for Matt. Whenever you mention Foggy, especially you're the one who took out his best friend.
Yeah,
Now,
that's a sore spot, right?
what I also realize is that once again, Matt's life is parallel to Kingpin. I don't know if you picked up on this, but Matt and Foggy, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I don't think Matt has loved anyone more than Foggy.
That's pretty true, I would
Right?
say.
You know what I mean? Like these two, I mean, they were what, college buddies.
Mhm.
They met in college.
Avocados at law.
Yeah. You know, I don't Matt, when he lost Foggy, Matt lost his way, you know? And to me, their relationship is just as strong, when the two of them were together, in the firm as partners, is just as strong as the relationship between Vanessa and Fisk. Now, here we are. Matt has lost Foggy, and we know that Matt is just, he's let loose. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's become more violent than he used to be. And we're going to get to
Yeah,
it,
like, you
but
saw how he broke that dude's arm
yeah,
at the start of the season?
yeah, we're going to get to it. Um, when Fisk reaches the point where he loses Vanessa, he him is also going to be in a
Mhm.
position where he's going to let loose. You know what I mean? So
Could be something.
yeah, so Vanessa Kingpin needs Vanessa, right?
Mhm.
And without her, he's going to be lost,
If you
just like Matt needs Foggy.
can.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. Right. Yes.
and I think Matt's character arc is season 1 of Born Again kind of parallels Kingpin's in season 1, except they're running in the opposite direction. Because while Matt is lost at the start of the season and he starts to find his way again when he meets up with Karen, Fisk was trying to suppress his evil self, and then he finds his true self again, which is when he starts crashing out again.
Yeah.
And now he's at the point of no return where he's really going to let the Kingpin out. Meanwhile, Matt is getting closer and closer to being more, saintly again.
Yes, right, right, right. Showing mercy. So it was really, really good that this story, the moral of the story that we were seeing with Foggy, being so nice to this person, Lionel McCoy, who is not nice to him, but trying to give this man a second chance. And, Foggy said, well, Matt asked, well, why did you do it? And Foggy said, because of mercy. You know, he's showing mercy, his forgiveness. And there was a point where Matt, was just about to leave Bullseye behind because Bullseye was really
He's
getting
like,
on
I'm
his
sorry, I tried.
was getting on his nerves. And then, he walked out and then he remembered what Foggy said, mercy,
So he went
mercy.
back.
And he went back and he grabbed him and took Poindexter with him. That was
Yeah,
amazing. That was amazing.
I thought that was
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
And then he brings her to the hideout. Karen looks at him like he just brought in a stray dog.
Right. Yeah. Karen's like, "Oh, no, please, no."
If it wasn't for the fact that Bullseye could genuinely die if she did this, I
Yeah.
feel like she would slap him across the.
She probably will once he gets better.
Yeah, but if she did that now, he probably wouldn't get back up.
Yeah, yeah. So this is an amazing setup. So you
Speaking of
got
not getting back up,
well, okay, we're almost there, Keith. We're almost there. So this would be wonderful if the next episode we see Karen and Matt and Poindexter and Claire all in the same room. That it is okay. All right. Yes, right. And Jessica Jones is still on the way. All right. So here we go. Um, Keith, I must say that you were right.
I
I
didn't think I was going to be right.
I was very disappointed that I really thought that we didn't see all of Vanessa. The Vanessa, there was more to Vanessa. she has something up her sleeve. She is still a villain. She has committed crimes. All right.
I
So
agree. And let me be real. I think she's actually a great villain.
yeah,
She's great when King. She's great when she's with Kingpin, but she's also great when she's acting on her own, like when she killed Nadeem in season 3, and she hired Bullseye to take him out. I think she's an excellent villain, but I also think there comes a time when you need character arcs to go further, and I think Vanessa's character arc culminating in her dying at Bullseye's hand, at the monster that she freed. I think that's a great character arc. And it serves Kingpin's arc because now he can crash out reasonably.
oh boy, yeah.
She's a
So
good storyteller,
yeah, yeah.
just
So
like the original show.
yeah. So Vanessa wakes up and she is talking and she asks for pineapple juice.
But can we talk about before that?
Yeah, sure. Go
When
ahead.
she asked for the pineapple juice. So I found this kind of interesting because Vanessa's usually not like tough, but she's not like a caring or sensitive person. She's pretty like steely, and calm, collected. But here, Fisk has the nurse come in. He's like, "Can we get a glass of pineapple juice with ice?" And the nurse is like, "I should probably check on your wife at all because she just woke up. She might have some issues." And Fisk is like, "No, no, just get the juice." And Vanessa says to him, "Why'd you yell at her? You scared her half to death."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm just like really sensitive that you're here because I didn't think you're gonna make it." She's like, "Why were you worried?" And I'm like,
Yeah. That's not the Vanessa that we know. Something is happening.
kind of
Something
pivoted.
is happening. Yeah. Yeah. So she gets the juice. She
Yeah,
drinks it and she says it's divine. Of
interesting.
all the words, it's divine.
Fisk said that pineapple juice makes her lips tingle.
Yes,
I
right.
don't think she could feel it.
She's allergic. Maybe. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, because like she's allergic somehow to pineapple juice, but she drank it and she was fine with it. It's like divine is the word she used. And then she asked Fist to, tell me a story about, when we met. And we
When
talked
she
about
just
the
saw him.
gallery and everything. And then just you could see her slowly fading.
Yeah, because like the acting in this scene for
Yeah.
both people is great. Because Vanessa, you look at her and she's like she's with it for a second, and then she like goes back. She's like, "Can you tell me the story of how we met?" And Fisk is just like, you can see his face like genuinely change. And he's like, "Oh my god, what are you talking about?" And then she
Yeah.
is dying.
Yeah. She goes into cardiac arrest.
Yep, the
Uh,
nurses come
the
in,
nurses come
the
in and
doctor.
Vincent D'Onofrio. What a performance.
Yep,
Yeah. He was distraught. And then all you could see is the white light, and you knew that this was the end of
yeah.
Vanessa.
I think Vincent D'Onofrio and Ayala Zerrero
Yeah.
deserve Emmys for this
Shout out.
scene. They're
Yes.
really like doing some of the greatest acting I've seen in all of Born Again.
Yeah. Alex Zurer. Yeah. Just wanted to mention her name. Uh, fantastic. Fantastic, fantastic performance. So she is gone. And then what does this mean for Fisk? Like you said,
He's on
he's
his own.
he's just gonna go off the rails. No one is safe.
See, the only people he's got on his side now are Buck, Sheila, and Daniel.
Okay.
And if I was Fisk, I would not want to be alone with these people either.
Yeah. It's no holds bar. All bets are off.
Oh, and Heather. We haven't seen Heather in a minute.
Yeah, right. So, let's not forget about Heather. I'm sure
Love
she'll
her talking.
yeah, I'm sure she'll come back.
Muse mask.
Yeah.
I hope she crashes out too, and she becomes Muse.
Well, I think that's where we're heading with her. But like I said last week, Fisk is going to need help. If he is, Vanessa is gone, his moral compass is no longer here.
I guess he's just got to build a collider now
Well, what does that mean?
into the Spider Verse.
Well, tell me.
So you remember Kingpin was the main villain. He
Yeah.
built the collider to bring his wife back and his son.
I'm about,
It's a joke I'm
but,
making.
right. Okay. That's the multiverse. We're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. Right. Yeah. Okay. But he has no answer for Daredevil and Bullseye. So he's going to have to bring in someone. I say it's the Hand. It makes sense because we see the Hand coming up in Brand New Day.
Yeah,
But you're saying that you don't see him.
because
Well, okay. Well, all right.
in season
Yeah.
two, Fisk kind of took a back seat and he and the Hand were not working together. I don't think he really knew of their appearance, considering that he was in jail for the majority of season 2 in Defender. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he heard about them, but I don't see him hiring the Hand.
Okay. All
I
right.
think it's not far from a possibility.
Right.
It would be a cool thing for him to do because I'm never against ninjas.
Yeah, sure.
But
I mean, you got to fight vigilante with a vigilante. You need a superhuman to go after these two, you know,
they're just bees with
vigilantes.
some muscle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, who will that be? We don't know.
That's a question.
Okay. So very interesting. I can't wait for episode 6.
I'm excited.
I can't wait for episode 6. This is very, very intriguing, and I don't know where this is going, but yeah, yeah. Um, but there are plenty of villains out there. But I think Kingpin will have to partner up with someone else, somebody just as evil as he is.
I
Yeah,
think he's got to get some contract to help.
yeah. We just don't know who that might be, um, but we'll find out in episode 6. So that is our review of episode 5. Right? Great title too.
The grand design.
Grand design. Like these things are planned. This is how life is playing out for us. Sometimes you can't, control what happens. Something that you mentioned last week when I said, I think I was on to saying this, so I wanted to finish, but I felt that Vanessa had more to do. But yes, it it does happen that people always feel that there's more for them to do, but if it's the grand design for you not to be here, if death comes for you, I'm not trying to be morbid, but sometimes
It's just like that.
things are left unfinished. And unfortunately, that's what happened with Vanessa. I really thought maybe that she had something going on with the governor.
Yeah.
Like maybe she was, maybe on her way to a political career.
But I do think that's kind of the point because now that
Yeah,
Vanessa's dead,
yeah,
the governor's obviously not going to want to endorse this.
no. And the governor is her life is in danger. I'm telling you.
So I think
Yeah.
either this kills the governor, which would put him in jail again, probably permanently this time,
Mm.
or the governor goes against Fisk and doesn't back him for re-election, which means that he's either going to get impeached or he's going to get thrown out of the mayoral office.
Okay. Well, wouldn't be an election because he just got elected. And, you're in office for 4 years before the next election.
Yeah, but he's
Election.
not getting that.
Well, no, he's not. But it's not because he didn't get reelected. It's just that he's just not going to make it till full term. All right, episode 6.
Yeah.
All right, Keith, where can people find us?
All right. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. Socials are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fathers and Galaxy. Our website is fathersandgalaxy.com. Please check out our merch store, fathersandgalaxy.myspreadshop.com, and our Patreon page, patreon.com/fathersandgalaxy.
All right, thank you everyone for watching this episode. Spoiler review of episode 5. We'll see you again for episode 6. All right, until next time, take care, and we will see you again.